This year's race in Baku was like a lab rat, as the new sprint race format was tested there for the first time. F1 fans were in a somewhat complex situation, as there were 2 qualifying sessions in a 1 Grand Prix weekend. Previously, qualifying was held to set the grid for the sprint race on Saturday, and based on the final results of it, the grid was set for the main race on the final day. But according to the new format, only 1 practice session is held for the whole race weekend, allowing 60 minutes to prepare their challengers for the entire weekend. Then drivers participate in the normal qualifying to reserve their grid positions for the main race, and this has no effect for the sprint on Saturday. Instead of the second practice session on Saturday morning, the sprint shootout qualifying session is held to select the grid for the sprint race. We are going to discuss about the race in Baku through this video, but before we proceed, hit the subscribe button and smash the bell icon for more exciting updates. The first sprint race of the season was held in Baku under a revised sprint format. Charles Leclerc was the pole sitter for the 100km sprint race, despite his crash in the final moment of the shootout, and the Red Bull duo held grid positions behind him. However, Williams rookie driver Logan Sargent didn't take part in the race due to significant damages to his FW45 during the crash in the sprint shootout. Alpine's Esteban Ocon also started the race from pit lane under parc fermé conditions due to the changes made to his suspension system. All the cars were running on medium pairs, except Norris and Bottas, who opted for soft compounds. Leclerc jumped out of his grid with good acceleration, turning his pole position advantage to the race lead. The real battle was between Verstappen and Russell for the 3rd spot of the race, and the pair went side by side several times, making a contact at turn number 3. That collision made a slight damage to the Verstappen bodywork, pushing him hard towards the barriers. The Dutchman was not happy about the decision of race control and demanded the track position back from Russell, accusing Russell of not leaving enough space for him. A few moments later, Yuki Tsunoda crashed into the barriers, following a slight contact with his teammate Nick de Vries. In order to clean the debris over the track, a virtual safety car was deployed. Tsunoda was lucky enough to make it into the pits using 3 wheels, and mechanics did some repair work to his car. But the damage was more severe than initially thought, and called a full safety car session after he rejoins the track. During the safety car session, Red Bull engineers informed the Dutchman about floor damage, and he was very frustrated about the incident. The race was resumed at the end of lap number 4, and Verstappen found a way to pass Russell to claim the final podium position. Leclerc, who was leading the race at the moment, did his best to save the track position from Perez, who was attacking from behind with a strong pace. But with the DRS advantage, Perez cleanly overtook the Monegasque driver to the race lead. After this move, Perez easily extended his lead to the Ferrari driver, and all eyes were on Verstappen, who was chasing Leclerc with damaged bodywork. A lot of things were happening at the back of the grid, and there was an interesting battle between 2 McLaren teammates. Piastri passed his teammate to the 10th position with the help of DRS, and Stroll overtook Albon at the final stage of the race to take the final point of the race. Perez easily won the sprint race, improving his legacy as the king of streets, and Leclerc crossed the line behind him. Verstappen reserved the final podium spot, and behind him, Russell, Sainz, Alonso, Hamilton and Stroll grabbed some points at the end of the sprint. Based on the qualifying results on Friday, Leclerc held the pole position for Sunday's race, and the 2 Red Bulls were positioned behind him in the starting grid. From the beginning, Verstappen followed Leclerc's Ferrari more closely and overtook him with the help of DRS on lap number 4. Verstappen's teammate repeated the same overtake 2 laps later, pushing the unlucky Leclerc to the final podium place. It was another Red Bull 1-2 leading the race, as has regularly happened in this season. Behind the Monegasque driver's Ferrari, his teammate Hamilton and Alonso reserved their grid position. On a normal race day at Baku, teams usually went for a 2 pit stop strategy, so the race leader Verstappen decided to make his first pit stop under green lights on lap number 11, and all of his plans were derailed as Nick de Vries tapped the barriers and parked his car on the corner of the track, calling a safety car session. Then Perez and Leclerc, who were behind the Dutchman before his pit stop, pitted under the yellow lights and rejoined the track ahead of the former race leader. Both Ferrari and Aston Martin double-stacked their cars, handing over a 1-grid position advantage to Russell over Stroll. The race went green again 3 laps later, and Perez was leading the race this time. Behind him, Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Alonso, Russell and Stroll reserved their slots. Hamilton was the biggest loser of this safety car session, dropping to the 10th position from 5th. Within a brief time interval, Verstappen passed Leclerc to the 2nd position at turn number 3, making a Red Bull 1-2 again at the front of the pack. Alonso made a very brave move at turn number 4 to pass Sainz, who was running at 4th position. Stroll made back-to-back errors, allowing Hamilton to pass him. Repeating the same mistake that de Vries did, Stroll tapped the barriers at the same corner, but he was lucky to save his front left corner of the car and immediately ran wide at turn number 16, allowing the 7-time world champion to pass him easily. Hamilton was accelerating past towards Sainz with the aim of increasing his championship point count, but Sainz was at a safer distance to resist Hamilton's attack. Race leader Perez also made a mistake by brushing the wall at turn number 15, but was lucky enough to save his track position as he maintained a clear gap with his teammate. Dominating the whole weekend, Perez crossed the finish line as the first multiple champion in the streets of Baku. This became another 1-2 finish for Red Bull, as Verstappen saw the checkered flag next to Perez. Alonso remained within an attackable distance to Leclerc, but the Ferrari driver successfully defended the attack from Aston Martin running behind him. So Ferrari records their first podium of the season in the streets of Baku. Behind, Alonso, Sainz, Hamilton, Stroll, Russell, Norris and Tsunoda, who crossed the finish line respectively, securing some championship points. There was a late drama in the circuit as Ocon, who entered the pit lane on the final lap, was obstructed by people running across the lane, thinking that the race was over. Fortunately, no accident happened and they moved out of the lane in time. The streets of Baku were dominated again by the Red Bull duo, despite Ferrari's sudden improvement. Leclerc stood on the podium for the first time in the 2023 season, making it a consolatory weekend for the Italian team. However, Mercedes didn't show a considerable improvement compared to the race in Albert Park, and Aston Martin also appeared to lose their form to a greater extent. And that's how the race in Baku unfolded. How do you rate the race in Baku? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel so we can keep bringing you more exciting Formula 1 news. See you in the next video, guys. Goodbye.